Hi everyone, this is Ricky with Bromero Cards. I hope you're having a great week. On this video, I'm going to be using some stamps from the Ink Road stamps, and I'm going to show you how to make a pretty simple card with just one stamp set and a few pieces of paper and some black ink. So here we go. Okay, so one of the things we're going to be using is Memento black ink. We're going to be using some VersaMark embossing ink. We're also going to be using just some white embossing powder, so whatever that you have on hand, an acrylic block. We're also going to be using the Ink Road stamp set Love Wins. We're also going to be using a solid piece of purple paper, a solid piece of white paper, and then a card base. And that's a 110-pound Nina Solar white cardstock. And then we're also going to be using some scraps in rainbow order, and we're going to be using that on the cards. So let's get started. So one of the first things I'm going to do is cut down this piece of paper to 4 by 5 1/4. And you may see that I actually rotate this twice and cut on both sides of the ends when I could just do one. But I like to do this only because I want all sides to be cut and all to look the same. So I'm a little crazy anal like that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take these rainbow strips of cardstock that I have, or pattern paper, and we're just going to cut those in random strips. Doesn't matter what size this is. I actually have done another card like this using up some scraps, and this is a very good way of using up scraps and just getting rid of stuff off your desk. The last thing I did there was cut this out of some eggplant colored cardstock, only so that I could have it as part of the rainbow for this card. And also this is where the sentiment's going to go. And speaking of the sentiment, we're going to go ahead and get this on here. We're going to use the embossing buddy there so that we can make sure there's no static on the paper. And we're going to use this sentiment Love Wins from the same stamp set. Again, this is all one stamp set. So I'm going to get that lined up and then use my acrylic block. I'm going to rub the stamps down because I haven't used them before, and that helps ink stick to it. And we're going to use the VersaMark, and we're going to go ahead and get this stamp down. I get it lined up, try to get it perfect. Perfect. It has been stamped. The next thing we're going to do is heat emboss this, and you can do this using any color of heat embossing powder you have. I just use white because it stands out more, and it's just easier to put on. It's just what I have, and it's close. So there was some embossing powder sticking to some parts of the paper, so I decided to take a brush and get that off. And then I went ahead and heat embossed that. I did not show it because it's not fun to watch. Although live, it is fun to watch. I love it every time, but not on a video. Now what I'm doing is I'm just trimming down this sentiment so that it could fit on the card. But also I need to measure it just to make sure that it's actually long enough and fits in the card range, because I did not measure this before I cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4. Here you're seeing me just put a few things on the card to make sure everything fits, just making sure my idea is going to work. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and get these strips placed onto the cardstock here. I'm going to go ahead and get that lined up so it's straight. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of removable glue on the back just so it stays in one spot as I'm putting the strips on. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put the sentiment on first, because I want to make sure that it fits and it's in a good position. Making sure my paper's straight, and I'm just going to line this up with the lines on the craft mat. Then I'm going to take the last piece and go ahead and put that on the bottom, and then we'll start developing the card from Love Wins all the way to the top. I'm not going to show you this whole thing, but it will go up and just go in rainbow order. And now that we have all the strips onto the card, the next thing I'm going to do is use the hot air balloon from the same stamp set, and I'm going to go ahead and get this stamped out twice because we're going to be using 2 of them. Now in the beginning of making this card, I actually thought about Copic coloring these these balloons, but since we have this really nice background, I kind of felt that if I did a watercolor or Copic colored these balloons, that it would kind of take away from the card. So what I've decided is to go ahead and use 2 of these balloons, but just use them as white and not color them in. So I'm going to go ahead and get these fussy cut out. I actually don't show you fussy cutting out both of these, and I'm not for sure. Can you guys hear my dog sleeping behind me? She's snoring a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and get this fussy cut out, and I actually do this to both balloons. So now as that's done, we're going to go ahead and get this on to a black piece of cardstock. Sorry I didn't have that in the beginning of the video, but I forgot. And we're going to cut this at a little bit over 4 and a little bit over 5 1/4. And that's just enough to give it a black border around the actual card base. But then when we put all of this together on the actual card base, there's still going to be some white left over in that. I'm going to use some of my favorite glue, art glitter glue. The tip is the bomb. And we're going to go ahead and get this on the black cardstock. Just want to make sure it's even all the way. That's why I use liquid glue for this, so that you can have a little bit of wiggle room to try to get it where it needs to be. And then here I am, what I was telling you or showing you is that there's still a white border even around the black for this card, which is really nice. I think it makes the sentiment pop out. It makes a lot of the things pop out. So we're going to go ahead and get that glued up and get that on the card base as well. Now, to get the card finished, what we're going to do is go ahead and get some 3M foam tape, or you can actually use any kind of foam adhesive that you have for these. And we're going to go ahead and get those on the card. And I went ahead and put both of them on here already. And now we're just going to remove the release paper so we can get that stuck onto the card. And there's number 1. As you can see, I did not press it down all the way yet because I want to make sure that's where it should go. And I'm going to go ahead and get the second one on here as well. Once I decide, yes, they're perfect where they are, then I'll go ahead and press the balloons down. Obviously, it's taking forever to get this release paper off. And go ahead and finish the card. I want to thank you guys for watching the video this week. Make sure you head over to the Ink Road Stamps website and get all kinds of stamps. And join me on all the social medias by searching for Brimero cards. Also, check out the Ink Road Stamps as well. Thank you. Have a great week. Bye.